the way I'm going to do the video, and it's going to be very long, so if you don't like it, just skip ahead. Or there are two categories, okay? So the first category is delay grenades, which is something like this, okay? And the second category is going to be impact grenades, all right? So I'm going to divide it up, and I'm going to go over lots of different grenades, all right? I'm only going to talk about grenades that are available today, something you can buy. I mean, there's a lot of cool grenades that you can buy used, maybe like the Tornado 1, but I'm only going to talk about something you can actually go and purchase right now. First off, let's just talk about strategy, right? So when you're running grenades, my suggestion is to be able to get your hands free. So if you have a rifle in your hands, you're not going to be able to handle the grenade. So I usually run a single point sling so I can drop the rifle and then I can pick up the grenade with both hands. That's very convenient. More convenient, I found, is just running pistols. So if I have a pistol in this hand, I can have the grenade in this hand. I can holster my pistol and use both hands, or I can just pull the pin like this and throw it with my left. I think that's the easiest way to go about it. Let's talk a little bit about indoors versus outdoors. So the grenades we're going to talk about vary in the way they work, and it really depends on where you are. So there's not one best grenade, okay? So some grenades are going to be great for outdoors, and some grenades are going to be great for indoors. Some grenades are going to be good for milsims, and some are going to be good for CQB games that you play all the time with your friends. So if you have a milsim, for example, you're going to be in an unfamiliar environment, you're going to chuck the grenade, and you're not going to be able to find it, okay? So that would be a reason to go with something like this, like a disposable grenade, okay? That way you don't have to hunt for it, right? If you're playing in a CQB indoor field, this would be a great one because you can find this easily, all right? If you're playing outdoors, well, this might not be so good because now it's going to be go off and people may not hear it. If you throw this one outdoors, it might not even go off at all, okay, because of the surfaces. This is a cyclone. This is going to be much better for indoors because the BBs shoot out and bounce off walls. So think about where you play. I use completely different grenades when I play indoors than when I play outdoors. I'm going to talk a lot about retention and how you hold the grenades at the end. There's lots of systems people use. Again, that's a personal thing. And there's lots of different theories on that. But the most important thing is you have to have it available. Okay. All right. So the basic strategy is having the grenades available and having a lot of grenades. All right. Let me go over that. So first thing is you have to have it handy. It has to be available conveniently, either on your rig or in a pouch in front of you, so you can grab it quickly and throw it. Right? This means having something in a backpack is not going to work probably unless you have a friend help you. The other thing is you want to have it so if you have a rifle, you have to be, I use a single point sling so I can drop the rifle and then pick up the grenade. If you have to set your rifle down, it's just going to be a pain. I prefer to use pistols. I prefer to just use a pistol with a grenade. That way I can grab the grenade and then pull the pin with my other hand, or if I really want to, I can holster the pistol and then use both hands. Having it ready means it's been prepared, and it's just like reloading your gun in between games. The next thing I always tell people is forget the perfect moment. You're never going to find the perfect moment to throw the grenade, okay? If you keep waiting and waiting, it's not going to happen, right? And so how do you solve this problem? You solve this problem by having more than one grenade, okay? If you have multiple grenades, you're not going to wait for the perfect moment. You're going to pull it, you're going to chuck it, and if it goes off and pushes the people back, fine. If you completely miss them all, it doesn't matter, then you got another one. It's just like BBs. You have to have a lot, okay? So carry more than one. The other thing is you have to consider your surroundings. So as I talked about indoor, outdoor, the environment determines a lot about how you use your grenades and, for example, how far someone is. Some of these you can throw far, some of these you can't throw far, okay? You know, a common theme you'll see throughout this video is that all the pins are tied to the grenades in one way or the other, okay? The reason for that is you don't want to get distracted by the equipment, okay? You want, and there's lots of different ways. Here I put a chain on this one, for example. There's lots of ways to tie the pin. So when you pull the pin, you chuck the grenade, and then you'll retrieve the whole unit again later, and you don't have to worry about, did I lose the pin, or did I put it in my backpack, or sometimes you'll end up with 3 pins on your fingers if you don't do this. Yelling grenade. Okay, so there's 2 theories on this. One is, if I throw the grenade, especially a delay, and I yell grenade, that's going to give everyone a warning, and they're going to run out of the room, they won't get killed. Okay, that might be true, but then they're going to move, and that's kind of what you wanted in the first place. I always yell grenade or frag when I throw these things, and the reason is because a lot of times, if you just chuck it and they don't even know it's there, if it lands behind them and it goes off, they might not know what happened. Okay, especially if it's just a sound. If they see BBs, it's a little more likely they'll figure it out, but they might not know. But if you yell grenade when you throw it, they're going to think, oh, there's a grenade around, and then they're going to key in when they hear that bang right behind them. They go, oh, I probably got killed by a grenade. Or they see the BBs flying in the air over their head. Many, many times I've thrown these, they've landed right in front of the shield or right behind someone, and right in a room, and people, they keep playing because they didn't realize that a grenade went off. They get tunnel vision and focused. All right, so that's my 2 cents. Always yell grenade when you chuck these things. All right, I mean, this might be obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. Just put your name all over it. Maybe like this one has, see, big initials on it. Put your name all over, put your phone number. We're much more likely for someone to come and hand it back to you if it has your name. The other thing too is you can personalizing it is also good. These are all blue versus black or camel. That's so I can see them, but it's also, if it's personal, it's more likely that you're going to get it returned. These all have ribbons on them, and this is so you can find them again. So this is about 8 inches, right? But if you put ribbons here, okay, it becomes about 2 feet long. So it's a 2-foot object basically. So if this is under something, you're going to see the ribbon stick out, you're likely to find it. So it's a lot easier to find a 2-foot object than it is to find an 8-inch object. I made these blue just because it matches, but you could make, I've seen yellow string or paracord, for example. Okay, and the last thing is, as I go through the delays and the impacts, I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about all the costs and what it costs to run these, because that's a big issue. You know, grenades are what you often consider investments because there's a lot of upfront costs on some of these. So I think a lot of people quit using them because they take it, they chuck it, they lose it in the first day, and then they're like, well, that sucks, I just lost my grenade, and why would I buy 3? Right? So I'm going to go over cost and how it costs to run these things. And I think if you here, look at this one here. I don't know, look, see how scratched up this thing is. Here, where is it? This camera. See that? This thing is so beat. This is the core part. This is so beat up. I had that for years, okay, and I maintain it. So if you invest in these things, you can use them over and over, and the cost goes way down if you pick the right grenades and you don't lose them and you maintain them.
I just wanted to show, this is what I call my grenade box. Just cardboard. I stuck it together. It's nice because it holds everything, especially your glitter grenades. You don't want them tipping over in your bag. Grenades, different types of grenades, your setting stick, and then the CO2 cartridges. This is the gun oil, which you want to put on the ends of your CO2, and then here's some silicone oil, which you always going to need for most of these grenades. All right, and that's it.
So this is going to be a bit of a long one because we're going to talk about Thunderbees first, okay? Because this is probably one of the more common grenades, so I want to go, and it's also one that requires a lot of maintenance, so let's go over this in detail. Okay, first up, the fill options. You just run it plain, it's just going to explode. The CO2 is going to escape the core, which is this is the core. Okay, it's going to escape the core, fill the shell, and it's just going to, when this thing expands into a big bubble, it's going to burst and it's going to make a lot of noise. Okay, and it's pretty close on the loudness scale to the pyros. Next thing you can do is you can fill it with BBs. Just have a bag like this, dip it in, scoop them out, That works great, but the problem is the BBs don't go in every direction. It depends on which way, where it splits. Where it splits, that's where the BBs are going to come out. Okay. Next option is what I call the glitter grenades. This is inappropriately named. It's really a confetti grenade. Okay. I'll show you a video of that. That's fun. You basically just fill it up, and I label this with G because you're never going to know which ones are glitter. Fill it up. I'm going to slide it on horizontally so the glitter's in the bottom of the grenade. If you do it like this, it's not gonna. You won't get on tight. Shake the glitter to the bottom half of the grenade. Screw it on. Label it. Okay. Grenade and glitter. You know, it pretty much makes a nice balloon in the air, and it doesn't get on people that much, so no one really objects to it. That is in contrast to the baby powder grenade. Now, if you fill this full of baby powder and it goes off to next to someone, then they're going to be, part of them is going to be white, and they may not appreciate that. I generally don't run baby powder grenades. Let's go over how to use the Thunderbeat. Okay, as you can see, this spoon flips up, right? And if you look here, you can see I even have this is a nail holding this one on. If you throw this, of course, it releases like this, right? This is very delicate. This is going to break. It's going to land, someone's going to step on it, or just when you throw it, it's going to hit the wall and this will break off. So you can't chuck these very far, okay? If you do, you're going to break them for sure. Maybe if they land on the soft grass outside, it may be not such a big deal, but especially indoors, they'll break. So the preferred method for the Thunderbees is sliding them, especially indoors. So slide them down a hallway, slide them under a car, slide them into the room, but underhand chuck them along the floor. That way they're just going to skid along and they won't be snapping these handles off. Now, let's assume you do break the handle off. Well, you can try to repair it like I've done on this one. This is an old one, okay? Or when you set it, okay, so let's pretend it doesn't have the spoon, all right? You could set it like this. Let's show you. You can use a grenade like this, no spoon, right? Just have the pin in this, all right? You just got to remember, once you pull this pin, it's going to start. Okay, it's not like you have a spoon to hold on until it it literally is out of your hand, right? So it's a little more dangerous, but if you're missing the spoon, you can still make it work. Okay, so basically slide, don't throw. I'm just going to go over the basic setting procedure for the Thunderbeat. People probably know it, but just in case. Normally you can pull this pin. This is a striker back. You can use your pin here and put this down, or you might not be able to, or you can slap it down. You might not be able to do that, but you can put it through here, okay? And then you can, once you got it down, and you put your pin through there, okay? What I usually do is I have a stick with a nail in the end. See that? So this makes it easy if you're loading it a lot of times. You're gonna put the stick in there, down for you while you bring the spoon down. Okay. Then you can put the pin, and then you don't bend the pin. Okay. Then you can take the stick and you spread this apart. That's so you don't, so it doesn't inadvertently get yanked out while it's on your body. Right? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take either gun oil or use silicone lube if you want. Put it on the CO2 cartridge. Basically, you put a drop. Now, this, lean a little bit. This is basically the same oil that Crossman recommends whenever you use these. This is so this is so the piercer pierces through easier. Okay. This goes in here. Now, some people put a dime in here for it to go off faster. I don't do that because if you want to go off faster, it probably means that the pin inside the piercer is worn out. So that just means you need to fix that. Okay, then you screw it in. Okay. Now, if you have glitter or BBs in your shell, as in this one, I don't know if you can see this. This one's full of glitter. You have to hold it horizontally in order to screw it in. Okay, there, and then screw it down tight. Okay, you want it as tight as possible because you want all the you don't want any of the pressure to escape. And then you can score this with a knife or something, and just run it down here. And you can also buy these pre-scored. Okay, so let's go over a little maintenance on Thunder Beast. Some people put a dime inside the base of this. Okay, that's just because it's not piercing enough. So that's the way to fix it, is to make it pierce properly. I think I mentioned earlier how this has a small notch in the bottom that lets the CO2 escape. Okay, so you take a file and notch this base, because this is where the CO2 comes out. And the biggest problem people have with these is they don't go off quickly, or they don't go off at all. It's because the piercing point, this little piece here, that little sharp point has become dull. Okay, so how do you fix that? All right, hold on. You get a file and you sharpen this. Okay, you just rub it here. You'll see the flats on this area. Sharpen and keep this baby. You want this thing to be very, very sharp, okay? And it has to be nice, and the edges have to be straight, because this has to pierce the CO2 caplet. See that? Okay. So the way it is I'd say after 20 throws or so, you got to sharpen this up because it gets dull. This is the reason why dud grenades do not work. Okay. Okay, so that's the basic maintenance. There's not a lot to do. They're going to break. You're going to end up repairing them, and eventually you'll get some new ones. But let's talk about cost. So this core is $20. Okay. This shell, when you buy them in a dozen or so, is about $1. And this capulet is about 25 cents. Okay. So what we're talking about is $1.50 a throw, assuming you retrieve it. So $1.50 a throw, that's really cheap. I mean, some of the disposable pyros cost $15 a throw. That means I can throw this 15 times and I still have it again at the end. Okay, so this, to my mind, especially for indoors, is the cheapest option. Okay, the key is you got to retrieve the core, which is why we have the ribbons. But long term, if you can retrieve them and maintain them, this is going to be more fun, because you're not going to be so concerned about chucking things because of price. Alright, some people don't really know how it operates. You fire this and the CO2 it escapes out the bottom here. If you can, I don't know if you can see really closely, there's a notch right there. See that? So I took a file and I file a notch in there so that CO2 has somewhere to escape, because this is where it's gonna come out through these threads. They're not tight. There's no O-ring down here to seal it, so it's gonna come out. And then we can demonstrate this. Let it go here. Don't want it to spray me. You hear that? So the CO2 is coming out right out here. Right, so I made it a little bit easier for it to get out, for it to escape.
Okay, so let's talk about glitter grenades, glitter bombs. All right, so this is confetti. It's not actually glitter. Glitter's a little too small and it doesn't float around enough. So you take your shell. Stuff it full. Okay, now you have to be able to get your core inside this. So this is the core that's ready. So if you just try to shove it in like this, it's going to bottom out. So you have to shake the glitter horizontal like that. So now it's lying this line along the bottom. And you can put your core in. Good. That's it. Okay. Now you can do the same with BBs. Even more important, when you stick it in there, you have to make sure it's lying flat. And that's how you make your glitter bombs. So when you're making a glitter bomb, it's important to use confetti. Glitter is too small and it just kind of blows away and it doesn't float down in the air and make a big cloud. This stuff is very lightweight, kind of make a nice big cloud that flutters down. This is what you want. Is just simple confetti. You could make this yourself if you wanted to cut up some lightweight paper, I guess. Here's a little note. After you assemble your glitter grenades, it's almost impossible to tell they have glitter in them. So just mark them so that you know the difference between a glitter and a regular. Next grenade I'm going to talk about is the Thunder Flash Mark V. These are, I would say, the simplest and the cheapest pyro grenade, okay? So the way this works is, this little cap here. You twist this off, and then it looks like this one the cap's off, okay? And then you strike these together, all right? And then the grenade, sparks come out of here and it burns for about 4 seconds or so, and then it goes off loud. It's about as loud as the Thunder Bees as far as loudness goes. This is great if you're playing in mil-sims or outdoors or place you're not familiar with, because if you throw this somewhere you've never been, you might lose it. I mean, there's a good chance, even with the blue and ribbons, you're gonna throw it, you're gonna lose it, and then you're gonna be hunting all over to find it. All right, this outdoors is the best. You chuck it, you forget about it. If it goes off, great. These are not 100% reliable, but they go off, I'd say 95% of the time. This one's actually a dud, that's why I have it. You can buy different pyros which cost a little more, ones that throw BBs and do other things. But this is nice because this fits in an M4 pouch very well, and you can probably carry 5 of these or more in a pouch. So they're easy to pack, and they're simple and they're cheap. All right. So this is my go-to when I'm outdoors. Now here's another delay. There you go. This is the Taggin R2B. I'm gonna put this one with the other pyros that you can probably buy at mil-sims. I haven't used this one, but I've used the pea grenades and the round ones. This retails for about, even if you buy them in bulk, they're still $15 a piece. So that's a lot. But it's probably the nicest because it has a nice, pin you pull, spoon flies off, BBs fly out, makes a loud noise. You don't have to go hunting for it or worry about losing it. So this is the ultimate in throwaway and not worrying about your grenades. But it's the most expensive. So if you're going to be playing a game and you're not worried about throwing $15 a pop, then go for this. This, and especially if you're having a mil-sim weekend, I think it's worth it. But just realize, I can throw this, 10 times, and that's, we're talking 150 bucks here, and 10 times this is $15 total, without the price of the core. So, yeah, that's the price. I like it, but you know, you decide how rich you are. Okay, as of this video, 2020, this is probably the go-to grenade if you have money, okay? It's reusable. It's just green gas. It spits out BBs in addition, and you can have different delays. It has three modes. The first one's not very much of a delay. It's almost like a impact. It's like the old tornadoes. It's better, okay? It's hard, you know, it's expensive. It's over $100. So, you know, we're talking $20, right? And then $1.50 per use. That's pretty cheap, right? But still, $7. But you know, you could use this. You know, you could throw this 10 times in a day, and it's not going to cost you anything. Just green gas and BBs. So this is a great idea. I like this one. I don't own one yet, just because they're kind of pricey. And I'll be honest with you, I lose grenades. Okay, I use them all the time, especially even indoors or outdoors. They go underneath vehicles, or they get lodged in shelves, and if you're outdoors, they're in the grass and you can't find them. I mean, this would be a real sad one to lose. If you can buy the tornado, the original tornado is basically the same grenade as this. This is just an improved version. The original tornado has a lot of pieces in it, but I don't think that's such a big deal. They're hard to find. I mean, if you can probably buy them for, you know, $50, $70 online, and they're going to be used, so who knows how good they are. This is going to be the way to go. I think if you were only going to buy one grenade, and you know, you were probably going to be able to, you think, you know, you're playing in a familiar place where, and maybe you know people, and so you think you're going to be able to recover it easily, you're going to get this one, because you can use this every game, and it shoots out 250 BBs, big spray. This is the best one. All right, next up is the impact grenades. Impacts do exactly what they say. As soon as they hit the ground, they go off. This is the Burst XL. This is a pretty common grenade. I mean, Norwich even has his own brand. You can see what I did is I've tied, of course, the pin to the grenade, because no one wants to be hunting for these little things, and it doesn't affect it when you throw it. Okay. This is pretty cheap, because you buy the little pieces of clear plastic that go inside, and they don't cost very much, so that's pretty good. That's the good part. All right, use it over and over and over. The bad part is these things malfunction. Okay, they're all metal, so you think that it would be pretty durable. It is, but the internals tend to break. Okay, because of O-rings and plastic, it doesn't last long. I mean, I've used this one a lot. All right. So you see I put a mark on here. See that? That's to help you line it up. So let's go through the procedure. Okay, you open it up, you press on this, you set this, you put the pin back through here. All right. Now mine's broken, so it's not going to set properly. All right, like that. You push this plunger back up. Okay, that's reset. Screw it closed. All right. And now this is the important part. You keep the whole thing lubed up really well. You put lube in there, lube, lube, lube. This part here, you don't put any lube. You keep this dry as can be, okay? Because when you want the disc to burst, okay, you want the disc to blow out, okay? And if it's slippery, it's gonna slide out, and it won't burst, and it won't make a loud noise, okay? So you put the disc in here, close it up, charge it with the green gas here, right? And it's nice, because you throw it, and it doesn't go off until it hits the ground. And I've actually been able to put pins back in, because you can shake it alarm, it won't go off. So this is great, and this is it really only works in really tight quarters where the sound will be loud, like in a small room, okay, or around a corner, where someone, when it goes off and it goes bang, they know it, okay. But the problem is, especially in a noisy place, I've had this go off and no one even knows a grenade went off near them. So they don't even know they're out. Especially if it lands behind them and they hear a boom. They don't know a grenade went off behind them. So these are great because they're cheap. I mean, I'm not even sure how much it cost the burst. The whole grenade's 45 bucks, and you can get a lot of little discs, and you can even cut them yourself. So you can use it a lot, but it's not what I would consider reliable in the sense that people won't call their hits with this thing just because they won't know it went off unless it goes off right in front of them and they see it. And the other thing is it breaks. The internals are relatively fragile because the plastic, and there's a shuttle with O-rings in here, and there's a spring inside here. So I've used it a lot, and I used it till it broke, and so then I don't use it anymore. All right. Next, we're going to talk about another impact grenade. This is the Cyclone by Airsoft Innovations. This one spits out BBs from one hole right here. And let's see. This one doesn't have the spoon. Let me grab one. So this is how they normally come, with a spoon and a pin. Now, this is my favorite for indoors. And it's because this guy, people won't know it goes off. I mean, the burst will go off behind them and they won't know. This one, when it goes off, since it spits out a lot of BBs, they're gonna know, okay? So this is great because it's cheap when you buy it. I think these are 45 bucks. You fill it full of BBs, and as long as you have a bunch of BBs, it doesn't cost, in green gas, it doesn't cost you anything. So you can throw these all day long, okay? And I usually carry 2 of these on me. All right, so let's go over some of the modifications, and then I'll go through the fill procedure. So the first thing is, this is how it normally comes. It comes with a pin like this. You pull the pin, and then you have a spoon, and you end up losing the pin or the spoon. You know, this is kind of a stupid design, but this is just the way they made it. There's too many pieces. You can see I even chained these together so I wouldn't lose them, but then you end up, you know, having to keep track of it. So the best solution I've come up with is the next level was to just get rid of the spoon altogether. Just put the pin. You basically drill a hole there, so the pin comes through this side, right, and goes out that side. See how it's at an angle? So you just take a drill a hole straight across, and then all you do is you pull the pin. Again, notice the pin's tied, and then you can hold it and then chuck it. And as soon as you chuck it, the pin will slip and it'll fire, okay? This pretty much goes off pretty much every time. If you charge it properly with gas and seal it up, it's great. All right, I'm gonna go through the procedures. All right, now the downside is these are plastic, so they do break. You can see I got a lot of them because these are broken. They're not metal, but you know, they're nice and light. So the best thing to do is have BBs, and these are the cheapy BBs. These are the 12s, I think, some of these. So this is a great way to load your thing. You just scoop it in here and scoop up the BBs and load them up. So that's the way to go. You don't want to use heavy BBs. The lighter BBs, the better, because everything's going to spit out of this little hole. Okay? All right, so let's go over the load procedure for this baby. Here it is. I use my load tool, which I don't know if I've mentioned this yet. This is a dowel. Push the pin forward, and then you're going to stick your ring pin across. Okay, now it's locked. All right. Push this up, and this is where you put a lot of oil. Really can't use too much of this in this grenade. Silicone oil. Turn it right. Okay. Okay, now you can see you're going to charge it. So you take your green gas, charge it up, and just sit there. It'll all spill out when you put too much in. All right. And you take your bag. Scoop it up. Remember, these are super cheap in a big bucket, so don't worry about spilling in. Right? And then you put it on your base. Now, this base is what breaks. This is the piece that always goes. All right. And unfortunately, the instructions are not very good as far as how to load it. So let me explain. There's a little notch here. See, I took a pen and I highlighted it, okay? And then if you look over here, on this, you have to push the cover back. Okay, you see that? That has a little notch in it too. These two have to mate up, okay? If you don't mate these two up, it's like this, it won't work, okay? If you look at the bottom of these two, it's a distinctive shape, okay? They have to match up properly. See this keyway? This has to be in the right spot or it won't work. This keyway right there, there's the keyway. Okay. Those have to match, okay? If you don't do that, I did this for a long time. I just put it on here and I put the edge down, I tightened it down, and a lot of times the grenade wouldn't go off and the BBs wouldn't spit out, and I went in the trigger fired and I wondered what happened. It's because I did not match up these pieces here, okay? So what you do is, like I said, take a pen and mark it. Okay, now that I've pushed, now I squeeze this together like this tight, right? Then this collar comes down, and then you can rotate the collar closed. You got to do it while pressing on, keeping the whole thing down. So that keyway is still lined up. And now this collar is tight. So if you don't do it right, gas will spew out the bottom, all right? So if you, you can kind of see the keyway still, that part lined up there. So this is the number one problem. This piece here is put on wrong and it doesn't work. Line it up, screw it down, great. Then you put it in, this fits in a pouch or a holder. I'll go over the holders later. And I think I'll also talk about the ribbons. Adding ribbons helps you find your grenades, okay? Now it looks silly, but you know, this stuff is sometimes the only thing sticking out from under a box, and that's all you're gonna see, and you're gonna know, there's my grenade. One other thing, don't store your grenade with this on. If you can see, see the shape isn't flat anymore. See how it's a wave? If you look at it, see how it's a wave? That's because when it's on, the base is distorted, pressure. So if you leave it on here, it's going to develop memory, and it's going to it won't have a flat shape anymore, so it won't seal. You want to, when you store them, you want to take it off so this is off, and this will be nice and flat, because you need this to be round. If you store it distorted, it's going to get twisted, and it won't be tight. It won't be a tight enough seal. By the way, this is a great place to put silicone oil in here, because this is a gasket. Okay, that is a rubber gasket that mates with that surface. Okay, this is the Chimera. Let's see, what do I have to say about this guy? I owned this for a while. It just, you can put BBs in here, but it really just makes a boom when the two halves separate. You have to tie the two halves together with some pretty strong bungee, because it blows apart and it actually will rip this stuff. This won't last, and your regular string won't last. It'll just separate. So you have to use a pretty strong bungee, tie the two halves together. You basically put green gas in this side, you reset the pin, green gas in here, close it up, and then when you chuck it, it splits open and makes a big pop, okay? It's probably about the same as the burst, probably a little less loud than the burst, okay? And it's pretty cheap. I wouldn't say it's 100% reliable, but I liked it. Unfortunately, I lost it, so I don't have it anymore. Impact, this, I think it's called the Storm. Let me see what it's called. This is the ASG Storm 360. about 60 bucks, which is these guys, like these guys. It spits out BBs. It's the same basic design. I think they've just taken the cheapy plastic here and just made it like a little more durable. I haven't used this. It looks like it's a pretty simple design, and I think it would work well. I just don't know. I like these because there are a lot of carriers for your rig, so you can put them right on your chest. I don't know how this thing's kind of big. I don't know how you'd attach it, to your body. Maybe you'd have to put it in a dump pouch, or I don't even know if it would fit in an M4 pouch. Maybe it would.
Okay, so this is the section of retention. So this is the most common I've seen retention for Thunder Bees, or any grenades that are shaped the same size as the Thunder Bee. It's got a little floor plate. It hooks into the molly straps. Okay, it's stretchy. So this is pretty nice in the sense that it clips in easily. You can keep the spoon away from you so you don't pull this out, or the pin. And your hand is not going to really interfere with it. You notice I have a pistol holster here, so if I'm running pistol, I can holster my pistol and then I can use both hands for my grenade. All right? So it's very easy to grab it and then chuck it. If you change your mind, pop it back in. All right? So this is about a $15 option, and I think this is probably the best for the Thunder Bee sized grenades. Okay, option number 2 for the Thunder Bees is a M4 pouch. So here's the M4. So that's pretty easy, right? Gloves a little harder, but basically standard M4 pouch. Fits in. Very nice. You're not going to lose it. And the nice thing about this is it covers the pin. It's not going to go off. Okay. Over here, you could easily, and I have accidentally pulled the pin, rubbing up against things. Okay. But here, this is pretty good. So this is something you probably already have, and easy to use. So the M4 also works really nicely for the pyros. You can fit them in there. You can easily have them stick out too, so you can actually grab them without opening the pouch. I don't know if you can see on this pistol, but look, if you look closer here, this is a piece of sandpaper that I've stuck onto the molly. I glued it to a piece of plastic and stuck it on here, or cardboard. So that way, if you normally you take out the pyro, you'd split the top and you strike it against itself. Okay, this little piece here, see where that separates the cap. But this is another option. If you just pull it out, and then you can just strike it against the sandpaper, and then you don't have to be. You could do it one-handed. You don't have to be using two hands to strike. You could literally have your pistol strike this and throw it, and keep your other hand busy. Okay, so this is a custom-made rig, basically just designed for indoor play. CQB. Notice there's a holster, because you want to be able to holster your pistol so you can access your grenades. Okay, and on this I'm actually carrying 3 grenades. So this rig I showed you a minute ago, this is the standard Kydex Thunder Bee size holster. Okay, this is on the side, and up here these are 2 of the smaller. They're basically 2 size grenade holders, a large and a small. So these are the smaller, and the smallers fit the Cyclone and the Burst XL. So this is basically the same as the larger. The Kydex has a little floor plate, fits in nicely. Okay, that's easy to get to. And this one here, this is a different design. This is basically the one designed for the Cyclone. It has no floor plate because the Cyclone has a top and a bottom lip, so you can put that there. So this is very easy because normally your right hand has your pistol, and it's very easy just to grab these off your chest and then pull it with your other finger. That way you don't even have to holster your pistol. Okay. And these are all these are MOLLE based, so they can attach to straps, leather, belts, anything. You can fit them anywhere, right? So this system's nice because I have 3 grenades all available to my left hand, okay? And sometimes I'll even carry some in dump pouches here, right? Wow, that was way longer than I expected. It took me quite a few days to put that together, mostly because I had technical difficulties. But that wraps it up. If I think there's a lot of cheap options out there for grenades, and if you want to spend a lot more, you can spend a lot more. The key is find something that's within your price range, and then use it. And my suggestion is always get more than one, and I think you'll have a lot of fun with grenades. If you write any comments and have questions below, I will definitely answer them. My suggestion is get some and try them, and I think you realize how fun they are. I used to play paintball, and I think one of the negatives of paintball is there's nothing except the rifles. You didn't have pistols, you didn't have grenades, you didn't have shotguns, and that's what makes airsoft fun, is you can have different options like grenades. So give it a try. I think you like it.